for game number 3 between these two teams. The Chinese powerhouse Invictus Gaming taking on the home soil American favorites Evil Geniuses.
Going to be a great game number 3. Game number 2, honestly, EG, I feel, honestly, they outdrafted them. I mean, during the beginning of the game, I felt like their lanes were a little bit better. Their mid-game was fantastic. Demon's movement was great. They allowed Fear to get all the farm they needed for his Ethereal Blade, and then they just pretty much pushed and won the game. So going to a game number 3, interested to see if IG wants to change it up a bit at all. I really felt like what hurt them a lot in the mid-game was the fact that Sand King could never really go into team fights. I mean, it hurts him so much to be a support, not get the high ranks into Burrow Strike. And even though Rubik was level 1 at like the 7.5 minute mark, Bulba still played phenomenal. He stole track a bunch of times, gives his team extra goal on top of that. The analyst desk covered that quite extensively, so I'm not going to go too far into it. But game number 3, and I think I wasn't alone in thinking that if this went to a game 3, I would be happy enough. We gave IG their second loss of the tournament.
Well, taking a look at what we've got out of the band so far, the Holy Trinity already banned out by Invictus Gaming, and this is deja vu all over again, if I'm not mistaken, Draskell. Pretty sure up until the Morphling first pick, which, again, I don't know why that doesn't happen a lot more often than it does. We've seen it over and over again, the strength of that hero. Going to be followed up by Rubik and Tidehunter out of Invictus Gaming. So aside from Rubik and Tidehunter, keeping your laning options pretty well wide open. If you choose to prioritize the Tide in much the same way we saw EG do so last time around, it can open the door wide open for a lot of mid-game aggression combined with whatever else can be brought to bear. Rubik kind of gives you that exact same situation. A very versatile hero who can run in just about any lane in any situation and be successful doing so. So, EG the first to show their cards so far as carries go, and we Druid still in the pool as well. Invoker still hanging around, waiting to be picked up. We'll see if EG wants to go that route. And I'll tell you something we haven't seen yet is a Tinker pick out of EG. Bulba, popular player, known for playing Tinker, and here in front of the home crowd, I doubt there's many in the audience that would mind seeing that.
Tinker is a great hero, and honestly, EG is one of the only teams I've seen in a while who's used him that extensively. Of course, Bulba being the Tinker player for the team, as you had said. But looking at the pick so far from IG, like Rubik Tide, that's a ridiculously strong combination in of itself. Those are two of the best supports pretty much in the game. Even if you don't prioritize Tide's farm, his teamfight presence is just so amazing that whenever you try to push, whenever you try to do anything, it's so difficult to engage. And that's pretty much the entire story of last game, is IG could never engage EG's lineup just because of the heroes that they had. So this game, they're not looking to let the same thing happen twice, but EG is really thinking about their next two picks here. Picking your carry first is a little bit of a risk because there are counters to Morphling in the game. You have heroes like Shadow Demon. You can pick AA, which we have seen turn today so far, and they're going to take, for the second time in a row, this time EG, picking Bounty Hunter as the third pick with Invoker, so more aggression coming out this time from EG in game number 3. Excuse me, I almost said game number 2.
Well, I'll tell you what the analysts back at the analyst desk, great job, guys, as always. But they pointed out very astutely, you've got a Rubik on the other team. You just picked a third pick Bounty Hunter into a Rubik who's going to be there to nullify the gold advantage that you're going to get from track. I mean, obviously, you can't do it every time. And Luna, the surprise pickup here from Invictus Gaming with all of the heroes still available. Brewmaster still available. Still, let's see, Invoker was taken out, but we had Druid still available. Anti-Mage still available. Instead, gonna be the beautiful Miss Luna picked this early. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Draskell, maybe you can enlighten me. The first thing that comes to mind is if you're gonna pick a Luna, I don't think she was gonna be banned or picked in the second phase. Why would you not wait to take her?
I'm not really sure myself, to be honest. I mean, picks like this, whenever you have like an ace in the hole or something like that, you save it until last because you know that you can get something else that's important, but maybe they feel like their lanes are going to be strong regardless. Maybe they're going to be going for another TA up against an Invoker 1v1 mid. For game number 1, that worked out exceptionally well for IG, but TA is going to go ahead and get banned out by EG anyway, so they're not going to have the opportunity to just go ahead and get a free lane win because, like we saw, Invoker versus TA, it is not go so well for the Invoker. But this particular situation, I mean, I'm kind of a little bit confused myself as to why they would take a Luna so early. I mean, she is a really good mid to late game carry. She buys some of the hardest carry items like Butterfly, like Satanic. Those are pretty standard, although we have seen builds before where people go for early game and go Drum straight into Manta. Both are very viable. When she gets her ultimate to level 2, that's when she really has her presence being felt around the map. Lucent Beams do a lot of damage. They're not the highest mana cost in the world either. You can spam them quite well in lane. And the big thing with Luna is that farming on her is very easy because of her passive. It allows you to get those last hits pretty much every single time.
Oh, yeah. Luna can bring a lot to a match. And there's always questions about when you see a hero like this that does so much so well. Why is she not more popular? And generally, it's just because when you hold her up next to a Lone Druid, you hold her up next to an Anti-Mage, or even in a lot of cases, you hold her up next to a Queen of Pain. Everything she does well, put together, just doesn't equal the total package that you usually see out of those more top-tier heroes. So when you see a Luna pick up, to me, what that signals is that what Invictus Gaming has in mind is predicated not on her, but on the first 2 picks. The fact that they got Rubik and Tidehunter tells me that there's something that Luna's going to bring to bear at some very specific stage of the game, that it's going to be all about those 2, because that's the crux. That's what you build a team on. Luna just kind of tacked on as an ancillary part.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if they ever take a team fight with a Luna and a Tide and they're not surrounded by creeps or have a lot of minions around them, it's going to go pretty poorly for them because, of course, when you use Eclipse, if anything's nearby, it does eat the charges. But if it's just heroes, I mean, that is a lot of damage, especially during the mid-game. Heroes like Leshrac, even Morphling to an extent, I mean, his strength is being able to stay alive in sustained damage situations. When you have the kind of burst right now that IG's bringing, you have Fable, you're going to have Tide Ravage on top of that, and Luna with her ultimate. Taking team fights is going to be something that EG is going to be hard-pressed to do, at least during the mid-game. They're going to really have to rely on their Morphling to get huge this game.
Venomancer and Leshrac going to be the relative 4th pickups for Invictus Gaming. And Evil Geniuses, Venomancer, whenever you put it together with a Rubik and a Tidehunter, you're talking very strong lane potential already. We can't harp on enough about just how strong and versatile a Venomancer always is anywhere in lane. He gives you his spells never get bad, is basically the way you describe him. Venomous Gale, never going to be bad. His ult, never going to be bad. The Plague Wards are always going to give you vision throughout the entire game. It doesn't matter if he gets level slower than Bulba did as Rubik in game number 1. Veno's going to get the job done for a variety of different things that you're going to need on your team. Leshrac, kind of the same thing. Leshrac, massive amounts of damage output, much like we were talking about could happen with Tide and Luna. Of course, one of the best follow-up stuns in the game in Split Earth, and just a ton of lane versatility as well. You can run him mid and farm him. You can put him in a tri-lane and just let him play support. Either way, very, very strong, especially when you see a Leshrac paired up with, say, a Shadow Demon or even a Sand King. When you get those heroes together, it guarantees that if you are able to isolate or catch one person out at all, it's a guaranteed kill. And Crystal Maiden, not too bad at that at all. And it looks like we might have us another duo lane Morphling, my friend.
It is possible, but I think because of the fact that EG has an Invoker at the moment, we might just see a tri-lane. It could be Leshrac, Crystal Maiden, Morphling bottom, Bounty in the long lane. Just go ahead and throw him up there and try to get whatever experience he can. But again, IG's lineup is all about the team fight. It's not often that I can say that they don't really have a whole lot in terms of just pure tower killing, but they have a ridiculous amount of team fight. And of course, if there are heroes dead, it makes it a little bit easier to kill towers on the opposition. So, I mean, they're going for, I wouldn't say necessarily a super aggressive style, but they can fight pretty much whenever they want to. EG's kind of in the same boat. They have Leshrac, they have Crystal Maiden, great supports, and Invoker is very strong in the mid-game as well. I mean, I think this is just going to be a slugfest. I mean, both these teams are pretty evenly matched right now.
Yep, we'll see how Invictus Gaming wants to round things out. And looking at their team, what I think they need more than anything is at least one more set of hard disables. Brewmaster's still available. They're going to go Night Stalker. So we're going to see one of the
Ferrari
longest...
Night Stalker.
Yep, one of the longest duration silences in the game. Zoe going to be playing our Luna. And we are mere seconds away from game number 3 here in this third winner's bracket match with the lone remaining American team. So taking a look, I mean, obviously we got to wait for the lanes to shape up. But just off the top of your head, Draskell, tell me who you give the advantage to here.
Well, if it is going to be a Morphling free farming versus a Luna, the thing is Luna eventually will get the better of the free farm. It's kind of similar to an Animage who goes Battle Fury. The Glaives are going to let you push out very, very fast. You're going to have Morphling who can wave things down. I think this is probably one of the most even drafts. I'm honestly surprised that Night Stalker was picked up here by IG. That's not something I'm used to seeing, at least. So I really want to know how they're going to lane this. But until I see the lanes actually shape up, it's kind of hard to say who's going to be getting the better of it. But of course, Fear playing Morphling for EG, he's definitely not going to be missing any CS or anything silly like that. So his farm's going to be great. So it's going to be a Luna versus a Morphling. And I don't know how many times I've said that. Probably not very many.
Well, a little bit of potential for early action here. Both teams moving towards this bottom right-hand corner. We see the ping comes out from EG. And IG, not far away. They are gone. They are going to commit to moving in. EG, on the other hand, though, is kind of split up. So IG wants to fight. And this is just the power. They have a very strong level 1 team now that you think about just the sheer amount of damage. Gale, Fade Bolt, everything you could possibly need. Gush, of course, the Void. Not going to find anything now, though. EG very wisely withdraws. We've got to pause. In the meantime, Ferrari lagging. Hopefully, though, that'll be sorted out by the fine folks. Let's run through the lineups. EG's Melk going to be playing our Leshrac. Crystal Maiden going to be handled by Universe. Invoker going to be played by Bulba. No surprise, matching up in mid. Demon going to be playing our Bounty Hunter, and Morphling, no surprise at all, played by Fear. On the other side of the river, Venomancer going to be handled by Faith. Our Luna surprise pick going to be handled by Zoe. Night Stalker, Ferrari 430, heading towards mid as we speak. Tide Hunter going to be played by YYF, and Rubik going to be handled by Chuan.
These lanes are pretty predictable from EG. It's kind of standard to go ahead and send your Bounty Hunter to the long lane and a tri-lane coming out bottom lane for the Morphling, of course, with a Crystal Maiden and a Leshrac support. So that's the one weakness I would say that EG has, is their early to mid game is extremely predictable. And if IG can outlane them somehow, I'm not exactly sure how things are going to be shaping up. It looks like we might have a tri-lane versus tri-lane, at least potentially. Maybe they're going to send YYF to the safe lane to farm. Maybe they're just going to go ahead and rotate someone else like Rubik up there to try to get his farm up. But if it is a tri versus tri situation, I honestly give the advantage to EG, because anytime you have an aggressive lane versus a passive one, it puts pressure on the aggressive tri-lane to make sure that they can make things happen. And if they don't, usually they lose out on farm because of it.
We take a look at Bulba. First point in Quas, no surprise. He did pick up the Blades of Attack. Usually a darn good indication he's going to be skilling Wex after that, not Exhort. And we're back underway. EG versus IG in the third game of this best of 3 series. So as the lanes take shape, yeah, I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to mid, and that's pretty much always the story, especially when you've got a player, the anchor that is Ferrari 430. The horns blow, and we are officially underway. But yeah, Ferrari taking on Bulba.
Begins.
If that is indeed the case, Bulba's moving around a little bit now. IG sitting right on top of the haste is going to be picked up by Veno. He's going to make his way towards middle. Keep an eye on him. See if he's going to be a troublemaker. If he's just going to run the haste out. Looks like he's making a move around the backside. Very aggressive ward placement, by the way, out of IG right now. Just look at the two already, giving all that vision in the Radiant side jungle.
Well, EG actually dodged the tri versus tri lane. Apparently, they just don't want to even take the chance. And Ferrari might be in some trouble here. Double smoke up from Universe and Melk. It looks like they want to try to go for another very early kill.
Here we go. They're going to engage. There's the Frostbite. Split Earth is on the mark. Ferrari's in some trouble. He's going to turn and blow the Void. Oh, waveform puts it in the books. EG takes another very quick first blood. Faith rotating over. Ferrari lands in. EG, and this is the EG we've come to know and love, Draskell, and this time, Fear did get that instead of his support.
Starting off with first blood, man, that's going to help a lot, especially when he doesn't have to leave his lane this time. That's a really big deal. Game number 2, he actually had to go back right after the kill. So that's going to help them tremendously. And because of the fact that it is a Bounty Hunter bottom, they're not going to be able to get any kills out of this. It's just going to be farm versus farm. They did send Faith towards middle lane, so it's going to be a Venomancer and a Night Stalker taking on a Morphling and a Sam. And honestly, Night Stalker is good in terms of spammability with his nuke, and Venomancer is great as well. But if they have Leshrac rotate over again at 2 versus 3, they might be able to pick out this Venomancer.
Yeah, Faith here. Got to be here to do something. And just look at Faith take the damage. Off goes the Void and the Venomous Gale. EG not going to overcommit. Wisely, they pull back. Early CS, kind of a wash right now. Luna at 6, Night Stalker at 5, Invoker at 4. Tide at 4 as well. A lot of action so far, though. Bulba matching up against YYF. YYF skilling as expected. Most of his points at Anchor Smash. Bulba delivering a little bit of harassment via the cold snap. Invis rune was picked up. Didn't see who grabbed it.
It was Fear. He has a bottle.
Ah, there we go. Want to keep an eye on that, see if he wants to do anything cutesy. In the meantime, Chuan and Zoe basically having their way with Demon as expected. I mean, he's got a couple of last hits, but more importantly is getting his levels. Wants to get that track up and running as quick as possible.
I really like the fact that EG rotated Bulba to top lane because Tide versus Invoker pretty much wins that just hands down. There's really nothing that YYF can do in this lane, and they're like tri-laning mid. I don't know how often I think I've said that in competitive Dota, but Melka's kind of just sitting around here making sure that Fear is as safe as humanly possible, and Demon is still getting his levels up as well. I mean, he's sitting on level 3. He's going to get telekinesis right
Bulba
here.
in some trouble. Forced to pop the Ghost Walk. No vision granted. Faith was there. Landed the Gale, just doesn't matter. That's why you always make sure you have enough mana for your QQ walk when you're an Invoker.
It's just a strength of having invisibility. It's so hard to gank any of the lanes right now from IG, and they want to play aggressive too, and it's hurting them quite a bit. In terms of overall golden experience, it's still relatively close, so the lanes aren't quite as lopsided as I would say they were in game number 2, but it's still definitely good for EG.
Ferrari engaged on again. There's a Nova at Fear way back towards the backside, bottling up to get himself back in the fighting shape. Very aggressive play here out of EG, even for EG standards. This is very aggressive, just waveforming right on top of him, ready to commit at a moment's notice. And yeah, they're hemming him in again. There's another another frostbite. Locked to the ground momentarily. Morphling activates the invis. Here comes Faith, though. Now Universe is in trouble. Gonna be picked off at the top. And EG playing very aggressive and very greedy. Punished for it.
It was nice movement by Faith. As soon as he started seeing more aggression, he needs help. Like, he can't go versus a Crystal Maiden and a Morphling solo. So he just said, you know what, you got to come back mid and try to help me out. And just fortunately, the timing was so that the Crystal Maiden was really, really out of position. The Gale and one Void is really all they need to kill him. On the bright side, though, Fear's still farming quite well. He's third highest in the game. But the Luna and the Tide are actually both doing fairly well themselves.
See, Chuan took a look at Melk. Said, nope, you can have it. Actually said, no, not fast enough to get there. But yeah, I mean, this is about as even a laning phase as you're going to see. I mean, it's still very early, but I mean, you look at that and it looks huge. It's not. That's 400 gold differential between these two teams. A lot of that can be accounted for. A lot of the difference, can be accounted for in First Blood. But EG playing this very, very solid. And this is, again, this has a very aggressive feel to it, even by EG standards. EG is not a farm and push team. I mean, they do both exceptionally well. But they are very much a early lane dominance team. They like to come out and take control, and they're going to continue to do so, or at least look to continue to do so. Ferrari 430 here in mid, struggling a bit. At only 11 last hits the 20th here. He's going to be engaged on again. They go to the high ground, and he's in trouble, trying to bend to the right. Fear right on top of him. He has enough for a waveform in 3 seconds. Ferrari trying the juke. He's caught out. He's been spotted. And EG kills Ferrari 430 in mid for the second time this game.
It was a really nice attempted juke right there by Ferrari, but unfortunately just not enough. Fear would have had the waveform regardless, and that is 2 kills already for the Morphling, and he's sitting on top of 21 CS, definitely the highest GPM in the game at this point. So IG is really going to be banking on their mid game. They need Zoe to get his farm. Tide already has Ravage. It's only 5.5 minutes into the game, and we saw the kind of effect that can have when Demon roamed in game number 2 and started ganking with Ravage. That's when you got to start worrying if you're EG.
Very much so. That's going to be one of the strengths they have. Maxing Void right now is Ferrari 430. Now let's see what he wants to do with his nighttime. Ferrari poking around at the moment. Has not hit level 6 yet. Only has level 1 boots and a bottle. Universe happy to hang and bang with the big blue guy. Now Bulba's there. There's a waveform. Ferrari on the run again. Takes a little damage as a parting gift, but is going to make it back to safety.
Yeah, fortunately for him, the Invoker wasn't quite there. He tried to pre-rune, but Ferrari can't catch a break today because it didn't actually spawn there. It spawned for Leshrac bottom, so he gets a free regen. And Melk is actually jungling here on Leshrac, so he's going to try to get his levels and gold that way. If you get Edict a couple of levels, it's actually not too bad. And of course, he really can't go anywhere else. The Invoker's top lane, and he's much easier to keep alive than a solo Leshrac would be in the long lane at this point.
Ferrari making his way back to mid, perhaps thinking, you know what, maybe hang
Radiant's
on.
top tower
Where
is
did
under
that kill
attack.
take place?
Top lane.
Top lane. My bad. EG manages to add another kill to their total, make it 3-1 now as they begin to possibly look to push out this top lane of Smidge. Bulba hanging as well. Didn't know if Track was up, didn't see. Looks like he is level 6, so he could have potentially been, but we'll take a look at the gold graph. That'll tell us the story here shortly. In the meantime, IG
Radiant's bottom tower
putting
is
some
under
heavy
attack.
pressure here on bottom. No wards are
Radiant
around.
structures are fortified.
And EG just wisely conceding the tower instead of TPing into what would be an absolute ambush. IG gonna take the first tower off the map of the game. Should swing the gold graph a bit in their favor.
Radiant's bottom tower
EG is going to go ahead and
is
try
under
to counter
attack.
push mid. This is pretty much the
Dire's
only call
middle
they can make. They
tower
don't
is
want to
under attack.
engage into Ravage. We saw last game IG would give up tower after tower
Dire's
just because of that
structures.
ability alone,
Radiant's
and of
bottom
course the
tower
fact that
has fallen.
Melk landed 2 4-man black holes basically back to back, so that was kind of hard to deal with. But TP reaction coming in from IG going to be more than enough to save their tower, and of course Tide's there too, so that's going to be the cue for EG to go ahead and try to go elsewhere. And this is kind of a little bit of a problem that EG is going to continue to have during the mid game. They are leading in kills, but it's going to be very, very difficult for them to try to crack any towers and the base.
Oh, Universe wanders into the wrong part of the woods. Dies before I can even call out the abilities used. So IG narrows the kill gap a little bit. Adds to their, what I would assume, a little bit of a gold lead continuing to go up. And Zoe showing the push power of Aluna, and she's actually just farming right now. Hasn't put a single point into Moonglade.
Dire's
Now, typically,
top
you
tower
won't do
is
that
under
until
attack.
at least level 8 or 9. I mean, you got to max out your Lucent Beam. You got to put a point into your Eclipse, because if you don't have high levels of Lucent Beam, then the ultimate itself just doesn't do damage. So, I mean, it's pretty standard build. He'll get it later on. I'm not sure if he's going to go for the drum build or if he's going to go for an Aquila drum or anything like that. It would be pretty standard. I've seen it before already in this tournament run by, I actually think, IG themselves. So we'll see what she decides to do.
Got some TP reaction heading the top. Gonna have 1 land and 2 hanging out in the dire side jungle. Demon might get spotted out here. Got to be very careful. Ferrari looked leered that way. Perhaps feeling it. YYF's there as well, but Demon is going to make it back to safety for the moment. Taking a look at the CS scores, Luna and Morphling neck and neck, 49-47 respectively. Bulba in 3rd place at 35,
Radiant's
tied.
top tower is
Solid
under
farm
attack.
as well, sitting on 31. Lesh bringing up the rear at 18. And we're going to have a little tornado EMP action. That's going to force YYF and Ferrari off the tower for the moment. Fear's there. He just rushed into an absolute horrible position. Showing a little impetuousness there. IG basically donated a kill. As Fear just, again, basically rushed into a whole team. Not sure if it was a miscommunication or him just underestimating everything that was behind the fog of war. Ferrari's going to move out now. Demon's here in the woods throwing Track every chance he gets. The rest of EG has fallen back to regroup between the Tier 1 and Tier 2 towers. IG positioning themselves as well. 2 moving through the river. Ferrari and Xuan abandoning the cause at top. Looks like they are going to continue to apply some pressure here. Yeah, the other 2 are coming back now. Just trying to bait some sort of move out of EG. Try to catch 1, maybe 2 out of position. There's going to be another Tornado EMP combo. Ferrari moves out. Bulba's in trouble. He's being chased. He's silenced. Ferrari frostbitten though. So caught with a big split earth, and here comes Fear again. Big Ravage catches nearly all of them. Demon in trouble. YYF's going to drop on the backside. Ferrari and Xuan making a run. Fear still very close to full health. In the meantime, Invoker gets another kill. Ferrari with Track is not going to be able, well, I guess he is going to be able to outrun the Morphling there. Thought Fear was going to continue to pursue it, thought better of it. Instead, however, still a big, big swing for EG as they wait for a slight overcommitment out of IG. Ferrari got a bit ahead of himself chasing down Bulba, and by the time the Ravage went off, EG was just ready to fight, Ravage or not.
It was a tower kill for a handful of kills, and with Track, that does come out a little bit ahead in terms of overall gold for EG. And the last time we saw a fight like that at Tier 1, it was because Fear had a haster, and he was feeling like the Superman complex. He's like, I got a haster, and I can get out of here, no problem. And apparently he couldn't get out. So giving 1 kill away where maybe it shouldn't have happened that way. But still, EG not going to go down without a fight. And the problem really is that by the time YYF ravaged, they had no follow-up. I mean, he was basically by himself in the middle of 4 heroes from EG, and that's not typically the best spot unless the rest of your team is right behind you and ready to go, and that was not the case.
Fear hanging right on Luna's coattails
Radiant's
so far as
middle
CS
tower
goes.
is under attack.
So far as his build, he's got Treads and Ring. We'll wait to see what he wants to spend his next 1,000 or so gold on. to determine what build he's going to want to go. In the meantime, EG not content to sit on their laurels. Smoked up, looking for a fight. Demon leads the way. Ferrari and YYF up on the high ground, but just behind them, the entire rest of their squad. And EG doesn't really commit to this. It's a very wise call. Don't see a ward, but I mean, the closest ward they have is right on top of that of IG, but still, very good game sense to not overcommit. Just go, okay, we're smoked, let's go get a kill.
Well, ideally, this is a situation that EG would want to fight. They know Ravage is down. It's down for another 30 seconds, and it's one of the longer cooldown ultimates at rank 1. Actually, at all ranks, it's 150 seconds, so it's still pretty lengthy, which means that this is the point where EG would really want to try to force a fight, try to get a tower or something like that. But because of IG's defensive positioning, it just makes it so difficult. Even if you don't know for sure if they are smoked, if you just sit on your tower and you wait for your big abilities to come back up, that gives you a much, much better chance when the next team fight does roll around. And it doesn't give anything away for free. And as many people have said, this is a game of how many mistakes you make, and IG is trying to make one less.
Demon caught out by Rubik. Throws the track on Chuan. Chuan happy to take it back. EG spoiling for a fight. I do believe you're correct. Looking to pick a fight here. The tier 1 mid, very low is that tower. Not going to take a lot. Tornado EMP combo goes off. YYF is going to take it. That leaves him only 100 mana. Arc Boots replace his mana, though, so he's got a Ravage at the ready when they want it. But both teams, again, feeling the pressure of this. Being able to stay out of the loser's bracket, guaranteeing yourself in the money. Both teams playing very, very cautiously, not willing to overcommit, even in situations, as you pointed out, where they may even have some sort of a small advantage.
It's just so difficult. I mean, tier 1s, you see like 3 or 4 heroes standing in front of a tower. That's one of the worst possible ways you can engage in any situation. So I really like the fact that EG didn't overcommit. It would have been really easy to say, yeah, they don't have Ravage, let's go. And then you try to fight on top of a tower with 5 heroes from IG. And it's not necessarily just going to be a free win for you. It's a little bit of an advantage, but EG unfortunately not able to capitalize on it. It looks like IG wants to fight, though.
Oh, IG, Milk barely evades detection. They are going to catch Bulba, though. Bulba making a run for it, throws the EMP. There's the Ravage. Bulba's gone. Fear's in trouble. Waveform's out, keeps himself alive for a moment. We see the steal of the Morph. Fear trying to make a run for it. He is going to be picked off on the backside. Universe blows the ulti, just not enough damage. Off goes the smoke. Zoe going to be killed by Milk as he loops back around. So a 3-for-2 trade. Chuan TP's out as he's being pounded on by the tower. But still, IG comes out slightly ahead.
That was almost a 3-for-3, man. Faith got away from that fight with the skin of his teeth. Demon's actually going here for the tier 2. He wants to kill him. He doesn't want to let him get back to base. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch him, though.
Demon! And he is, yeah. Oh, wow. Sneaks his way over. The attempted anchor smash of YYF. Demon, living up to his namesake, being a greedy little demon, gets the kill courtesy of the track on Faith, literally past his own barracks. Beautiful play of EG, and pretty sure that means they won that team fight.
Well, going 3-for-3 with track does typically put you ahead. They didn't lose their tower or anything like that. It was a really aggressive play there from IG to dive that far. Even though they feel like they are a lot stronger with their ultimates up, that just wasn't the case, and Demon is going to be able to TP out behind enemy lines here. Basically, no way he's going down. Going to get back to base, and that was a pretty big deal because getting track gold at this point in the game is just so good for your team.
IG now regrouping in mid a bit. Take a look at where they're building. Overclubbs up on Ferrari could indicate at BKB. One would certainly think so. He's really been just a non-factor for the most part. I mean, he's gotten the job done statistically, 3-2, what have you. But that dominance that you expect, especially during the nighttime phase, hang on, Demon caught out. And yeah, pays the price for his past transgressions there, IG. Utterly melts it. Tornado EMP combo, but of course IG off the tower. That does a lot of damage to Ferrari, who again, just did not have the best laning phase, sitting on only 30 CS right now and has had no other real dominance except for a couple of kills he picked up in team fights. I mean, just so hard to outrun a Night Stalker. You can guarantee he's going to get those kills before, during, and after those fights, but just really haven't felt the presence you really expect from a Night Stalker, especially in such capable hands.
Well, having the start that he did, like you said, doesn't help. And the fact that they're playing against a bounty hunter track is really difficult to deal with because it gives people extra move speed to run away from you. And Night Stalker is one of those heroes where you can basically just tunnel vision. You throw a silence on somebody, go on somebody else, try to get a kill. But if they're running 20% faster too, it doesn't make your presence during the nighttime that good. So I think unless Rubik manages to steal track, which we did see in game number 2, I think that track movement speed in itself is going to be really tough for IG to deal with.
See, Ogre Clubs being picked up all over. Hang on. Rubik able to use Waveform, caught by a tornado on the backside, but no follow-up from EG. But yeah, Ogre Club's being picked up all over. We already see one on Ferrari 430, and Fear has opted that as well. And this is, it's certainly not a new way to build Morphling, but it's a way that has gained a lot of popularity only really in the last couple of weeks, give or take. Get the BKB up early, follow it up with a Manta style. Guarantee yourself the ability to stand and fight against pretty much any team in the mid game. Gives you a lot of stability, but it does delay that dominant Morphling that you get whenever you go for an Ethereal Blade. And, you know, that's the choice you have to make when you're going to run the Morphling. I think I'd like this out of EG, knowing that IG is going to want to close this series out and not let this game go too late, given that it's basically a Luna versus a Morphling at that point. So opting to build Morphling this way for more stability now guarantees them a much better opportunity to make it to that late game phase where they will certainly be able to dominate.
I really do like the BKB first. If you look at IG's lineup right now, I mean, they have 3 or even 4 heroes if you consider Luna's mid-game, you know, and actually going to find Fear here, but he's going to go ahead and TP and waveform out. So he is going to manage to avoid that gank very, very close right there. So IG Smoke not going to be successful, but as I was saying towards the compositions, if you look at IG's lineup, all of them fall off extremely hard once you get a BKB. It's like, what do we do? Ravage isn't going to hit you. We're not going to have Luna's ultimate hit you. Chuan's not going to be able to really do much. And Morphling already does a sizable amount of damage by himself just by having waveform and things like that. So I think it's pretty much the only decision that he could have made this game.
Taking a look at the gold graph, just about 1,200 gold separating these two squads, about as close a game as you could ask for at this stage. And both these teams playing absolutely balls out. IG getting the pressure a little bit here at the tier 1. Gonna have the TP reaction, Bulba lands, there's a track on Zoe. We're gonna see track once again stolen by Rubik, and it's so essential that Rubik steal that spell, especially at this stage of the game. Later on, prioritizing other abilities might be the better option, but for now, is guaranteeing that track gold is negated. Absolutely essential, and making sure EG doesn't take an insurmountable gold lead. Fade Bolt, keeping the lane pushed. IG doesn't want to give up the ghost, but doesn't want to overcommit. EG, same boat. Falling back, and they are going to pop the glyph. Let's see, they're just going to concede it. So they blow the glyph to buy them time to do absolutely nothing.
Well, Fear is going to do some damage.
Melt caught out. He's brought back down the low ground. He's going to be hit with a Venomous Gale. Good tornado keeps him alive a bit longer. Good Split Earth. The Edict is up. Zoe with the cold snap, but no. The Eclipse manages to secure the kill, and 2 drop there. Crystal Maiden and Leshrac both. So EG, I'm not going to lie, Draskell, that felt like a major miscommunication. They popped the glyph as if they wanted to defend, and they didn't defend, and they fell back, but they didn't fall back fast enough. They were baited into a fight they didn't want to be a part of, and the end result is a 9-9 kill score now.
Well, losing those 2 heroes is definitely unfortunate. Fear managed to kill the first tier tower bottom, so I guess that's okay. But if he had TP'd that fight, honestly, I think that EG would have won it. One more waveform definitely would have killed Zoe right there. Maybe she wouldn't even have gotten her ultimate off in the first place. So maybe it was a little bit of miscommunication by Fear not going down there. I think that winning a team fight and getting a couple of kills with track might actually be more valuable at this point than killing the tower in itself. So a little bit of a questionable call by not going to that team fight from the Morphling. But honestly, 9-9, still pretty much anyone's game at this point. And as long as IG continues to have their ultimates up, they're going to do that every single time. When Ravage is off cooldown, they're going to be pushing.
Well, this could be a golden moment for EG. The BKB is done on Fear, not completed on anyone on the IG side. This is the kind of push that can get you erect. Tornado's gonna catch Chuan. Chuan takes the EMP as well. He's caught. Beautiful Split Earth. That's a big pick for EG. Again, Fear with the BKB up and no one else. They're gonna want to push here. They're not gonna want to abandon this. They've got 25 seconds before Rubik returns to the field. IG taking as defensive a concave positioning as you could possibly imagine. Fear with the replicate still up as well. He's going to take a gush in the face, track on Tide. There's going to be a pop on Fear, makes it to the high ground. And EG I'm actually really surprised. Pulling back and playing a lot more passively than I would have thought they would have. I understand not wanting to be too greedy. We've seen EG punished for that a number of times already tonight. But with the advantage they had, perhaps letting a golden opportunity slip away.
Well, they might have not had the Ravage timer. They might not have known if YYF had it or not, and Rubik was going to be up in a couple of seconds. Maybe they just said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and back up, take our win where we can, and just go ahead and try to get more farm in. But now IG is going to go ahead and try to do Roche, and the warding right now does not see this. The ward mid might see Faith if he walks a little bit farther towards mid, but yeah, I think he actually showed himself, so I think EG's onto it now.
YYF has the Ravage up in 2. There's the Tornado. They certainly know what's going on now. Force Staff gets Bulba to safety. Demon, though, picked up. Going to be dropped down. He's silenced. Off goes the Eclipse. So, had completed the BKB in the meantime. Fear's there as well. Fear taking a lot of damage. Can't morph fast enough. Venomous Gale. Oh, Fear drops. IG on the warpath. YYF still hasn't used the Ravage. Let's see if they want to go back to Roche. That is going to be the choice. So EG caught out and engaged in a very weird situation. The track attempt from the Bounty Hunter almost got him killed and started the fight. And once again, Fear just hanging around a little bit too long, unable to morph stats fast enough to keep himself alive. 20 seconds until morphs back up. Don't think Roche is going to last that long.
Well, that was a really strange engagement because a BKB makes you very tanky against IG's team, but the rest of your team doesn't have a BKB. You can't sit in the middle of 5 heroes with Lucent Beams going off everywhere because of Eclipse and a Tidehunter Ravage, who, by the way, didn't even have to use it there to get the kill, so...
Chuan in some trouble in the river, able to waveform his way up. In the meantime, the big boy drops. Big problem for EG. First Roche goes to IG. And yeah, they have yet to use any of their big abilities, as you pointed out. Beno still has his ulti. Tidehunter still has the ulti. Waveform stolen by Rubik. Much better spell if they're really looking to pour the pressure on instead of just mitigate gold from dual tracks. Luna making progress. Has the BKB up and now has an Aegis plus 1,000 gold. We'll take a look at the gold graph. And yeah, we can see dipping back down towards IG. EG had cut it to 0 and actually had it tilted up in their favor for the first time since 5 minutes. Not the case now, looking to get active on the map and get themselves back on track.
Well, they want to try to get a tier 1. They're actually not even baiting out Fear. They're just all smoked right here. If they can manage to kill Zoe, that would be great. But the problem is they have a Tidehunter who has Ravage, and he actually doesn't have a TP. So he wouldn't be able to TP countergank or anything like that. Of course, EG doesn't know that. So unfortunately, I don't know if they're going to be able to push this tier 1. And giving an Aegis away to a Luna, that's going to really hurt them in the next team fight. I don't even know if they can actually take it. They might have to just go ahead and turtle up, try to get as much farm as they can. And honestly, this game is still very, very close. It only takes 1 or 2 extra team fights to really seal you that lead.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a game decided by positioning, decided by decision making. Not going to be a game that just comes down to who has the most farm or not. Check the net worth. We can see Morphling and Zoe, or in Luna, I should say. Fear and Zoe. Very neck and neck. Invoker, Night Stalker, second tier. You can see it all the way down the line. That right there tells you just how close this game actually is. You can actually see the separations and prioritization of farm based on what these teams want. EG's all the way back at the tier 3. They're not even going to try to contest this. They're gonna blow the glyph, but not gonna do much with it, it doesn't seem. Bulba.
Yeah. They just use their glyph to basically delay the push. They're going to have Fear try to split push mid at the same time, but they can't engage into this. I mean, it's pretty much a BKB Luna with her ultimate up, Tide with his ultimate up, and the Aegis, of course, on the carry as well from IG. So giving up that tower was pretty much their only choice. The unfortunate part of it is that was perfect timing from IG because no other lane, mid and bottom both, were pushed basically on EG's side of the map. So they weren't even really able to exchange towers in that situation. So IG with a little bit of a lead right there coming out of that tower.
Here we go. IG wants to fight again, forcing their way down mid. Only 2 outer tier towers remain for EG. Tier 2 mid, tier 2 bottom. IG. Oh, they're going to catch Demon. Oh, he doesn't quite make it. He does get force stabbed to safety, but Tidehunter's there with the big blink to finish things up. YYF gets the kill on the bounty. And EG, who has hung so well, who forced this game 3, all of a sudden begins to feel, has to be beginning to feel a little bit nervous. 1 outer tier tower remaining, the Aegis still up on Luna. Fear doing everything he can in whatever off lane he can find, but still not even close to his Manta. He's making progress, but he's not there yet. And this is the problem with going the build he did on Morphling.
Well, at this point in the game, I mean, they're trying to smoke up. EG's got 3 smoked up. They're going to go ahead and go top, try to get this tier 1. It's going to get denied, though. YYF just on top of this game with that blind blink into the anchor smash to get the kill on Demon outside of the base. That was definitely great. And now that Ferrari has a BKB, he can basically just go ahead and man mode it and just walk into the team, try to get his silence off and Overcan, probably Invoker in most cases, maybe Morphling if they're feeling like they can take him down. And they do have the burst damage for it, especially when you have Luna with level 2 ultimate. That's a possible 7 beams coming out in total, of course, and then 6 of them are going to be hitting one particular hero. So that's a lot to deal with. Or excuse me, 4.
It's all going to be about fear. What can he do? Went BKB first, looking for the Mansa. Still very early in this game, 27 minutes. And this is the hallmark of the game that is very, very close. Whenever it feels like the game has been going on much longer than it has, it's usually because there's been action everywhere on the map and every engagement has been very, very close. IG now moving down towards the bottom right-hand corner, and they're going to be looking to position themselves for a run at Tier 2 bottom. EG not down to their last breath, barely down really at all. Take a look at the gold. I mean, 4,000 gold differential is a big differential, but at this stage of the game, coming up on 30 minutes, not insurmountable in the least. One team fight can turn that around, and they still got a lot of towers to kill if they can pick up one team fight. I didn't catch the Aegis timing, but Roche is going to be up not too terribly long from now. Yeah, we can see about halfway there, give or take. So if EG can just hold on, can just try to stop the bleeding, they're going to be in all right shape, but that's a much easier task said than done.
Well, the nice thing is, because the game is, as even as it's 30 minutes into the game, like you said, 4,000 gold isn't really too much. If they wait out the Aegis, try to fight around Roche again, they're going to be fighting into a Ravage, which is a little bit hard, and of course you have Luna's ultimate, which is also difficult in enclosed spaces, but that's pretty much the only choice they have at this point. They're going to go ahead and exchange tier 2s, and I actually think that IG might be able to TP back and defend, and it looks like they are going to do so.
Yeah, and this is just, again, this is how IG, I hate to use this phrase because it sounds almost like it's a pejorative, but it's not. It's just their playstyle. They nickel and dime you to death. Anytime they can make a trade where it's like, yeah, they lost half tower HP on a tier 2, but they got a tier 2 in exchange. That's what they do. Very solid movement, always on top of predicting where heroes are going to be even when they don't see them, and just trying to get inside their opponent's head. Anytime they can do it, they usually do, and they do it with great, great skill.
Well, IG proving once again why they're one of the best teams in the world. It looks like YYF's going to be in some trouble. Top track goes off. There's the EMP as well. Oh, and they're actually going to get him. The waveform and Adaptive Strike comes out from Fear, and they manage to pick up a kill. So that's actually pretty important. They might be able to pressure this tier 2 now.
He's down for 35 seconds. We'll wait to see what EG wants to do with it. Either way, another kill on the board. Never hurt nobody. 11-11. Now the kill score. Both of these teams on top of their game. Playing so well. And basically, they just did what I was just lauding IG for doing. They just are so solid in their movement as well. EG able to predict and able to punish Tidehunter for being just the slightest bit out of position and knowing that there's really nothing IG can do with Tide down. I mean, the rest of their heroes very, very solid. Everyone playing them solid as well. But the entire IG lineup right now kind of hinges on successful Tidehunter play. They have to have the blink initiation. Otherwise, you just have Ferrari rushing in face first, Luna rushing in face first, or at best, Chuan maybe picking someone up and bringing them back via telekinesis. And that's not going to get it done against Fear, who is now making some progress, and certainly against an Invoker, Bulba, who has done well all game.
I definitely agree with you there. I'm really shocked that EG didn't push the pressure tier 2. I mean, YYF was down for quite a while. He didn't have buyback or anything like that. So I really think they could have killed the tower, but instead they're just going to fall back and try to play a little bit more of a farm game. And Morphling is getting pretty darn close to his Manta, so that's going to help a lot. I think the fact that Fear doesn't have an Ethereal Blade this game is making it so playing aggressive is pretty much impossible. It's hard enough to play into a Tide, but when you don't have any burst damage really coming out, it makes it even harder. And because of the fact that it's 31 minutes into the game, even the supports aren't that squishy anymore. I mean, for crying out loud, the Venomancer has 1,200 HP. Rubik has 1,400 because he stole Morph earlier, and he's got Nullfield on top of that.
Zoe doing a solid job, has had the Manta up a little bit ahead of Morphling. Morphling is, yeah, like you said, pretty darn close at this stage of the game. And this is where IG, the shoe needs to be on the other foot. They have to be feeling a little nervous. They know once Morphling gets up to Manta, that Morphling and Luna are going to be on relative even ground. IG does have the initiation advantage. Of course, that long duration silence from Ferrari 430, if used correctly, can absolutely change a fight. But as more time wears on, I don't think this is a situation where EG is going to mind taking this to the extreme late game. I can see them very happy to do so and say, you know what, let me just build an Ethereal Blade, then we'll fight.
Well, Nightstalker does fall off a bit in the super late game. I mean, he's going for a hard. He picked up his Reaver on top of his BKB, and he's carrying a gem. So Demon's having a very hard time getting into team fights at this point. Basically, if he shows himself, he's going to be tunnel vision down very, very quick. No track kills at all. Helps a lot when you're playing against the bounty. If you can take him out first, that means that even if you lose a few, you're going to come out ahead in the exchange. And IG is just not willing to sit back. They're looking to push the tier 3 bottom.
Fear trying to backdoor tier 2 top. We'll see which is going to break. It's going to be IG.
Dire's
IG
top
not
tower
willing
is
to
under
give Fear
attack.
any more farm for free. Certainly not willing to give him a tower kill. And EG wants to charge out. They're going to be looking for someone. Chuan's tracked. Bulba's going to throw the tornado. Very close dodge. But Chuan manages to get himself to safety. So very near, big fight. Not quite there, though. And Roche going to be up momentarily. More than likely going to be the spot of the next big
Dire's
fight.
middle tower
We're
is
reaching
under
that point,
attack.
Draskell, where we could see yet another game decided by a fight over the big boy.
I really just love the decision making from IG. Even though they really didn't accomplish a whole lot with that push, their purpose was to push EG in their base and try to get around to Roche, which is going to be up here any second now. And if EG tries to go on it, again, they're playing into IG's plan here. They have Ravage and they have a Luna. And last time I checked, you don't want to fight in enclosed spaces with those two particular heroes. Of course, they have a Quaswex Invoker, they have a Lesh, they have a Morphling, they have some of their own team fight in that kind of an area as well, but it's not quite to the same effect. Of course, YYF is going to have to get a good Ravage for it to be really a good exchange for IG, but we'll see if they can manage to do it. We're going to see a 5-man smoke up from, I think, both teams.
Yeah, this is a double smoke. Both knowing the big guy's up, looking for the optimum way to engage. Demon, of course, going to have a small advantage because his smoke doesn't wear off when he gets near people. But EG getting the ward down very wisely. And now this is really beautiful positioning by EG. It's so often argued that Dire Side actually has an advantage because of the secret shop right on top of the Roche pit. And EG has taken that away. They beat IG here. They've got the ward up, so they're going to be able to have vision of the second tier there. And in the meantime, they can just wait here and either try to rush him down or try to bait some kind of action. Double damage activated by Morphling. We'll see. Yeah, they're just going to go ahead and farm. They don't want to be the first to initiate. Doesn't look like IG does either, but one of these two teams is going to have to take their first step into the big boy pool.
Well, EG definitely has a time to react. They're still in position to go into the pit if IG does do it. Oh, but they're not walking into the ward. I don't know if they're actually going to see this. IG is going the wrong way. Maybe they thought that they would walk past the secret shop ward that was just placed, but it's actually not going to be the case. So if they start roaching right now, EG is going to have no idea.
EG trying to be clever. IG, whether intentional or not, perhaps out-clevering them. And they're going to move in. YYF leads the charge, starts taking the damage. Let's see how and if EG reacts. This would be a disaster for EG if IG takes this uncontested. He's down to about 3/4 health. Still no movement to indicate they know what's going on, Draskell. Oh, this is disastrous for EG. 35 minutes in, and now they're figuring it out. Here we go. Here comes the reaction. And IG is going to withdraw. EG very narrowly dodging a bullet there. Almost out-clevered themselves, and now there's the counter warding. IG realizing just how close they were to a free Roche.
It's unfortunate that IG couldn't get it, but nice game sense there. I mean, EG is looking at the map going, wait a minute. There's nobody pushing any lanes right here, and there's actually lanes on our side of the map too, so where the heck are they? And it was pretty obvious at that point that they were roaching. They got it to about half, unable to seal a deal. I'm again shocked at the fact that IG didn't want to take a team fight in that kind of a position. I mean, they have a lot of extremely tanky heroes, and Nightstalker has 2,000 HP. Of course, Tide is quite tanky himself. And EG is just kind of sitting around mid lane. They have a Replicate out of the Bounty Hunter just to make sure that Fear can get back into the team fight if he absolutely has to. And I really don't think that EG is going to be leaving the river anytime soon.
Speaking of tanky and EG, someone that's going to be looking to be a big part of these late games fights as well is Melk. We can see he's built pretty darn tanky. I mean, as tanky as you can get without a Bloodstone. Has gone 2 bracers with the BKB, has yet to use the BKB once, so he's sitting on a 10-second instance of it for the next big fight, which again looks to be Roche, or at the very least will determine Roche. If these two teams run into each other elsewhere, almost certain that the winner is going to go ahead and finish off Roche. And speaking of, Zoe leads the way. Going to be spotted by a Bounty Hunter replicant. They're going to go ahead and spit some abilities on it, but they just realized that is a replicant. Here's Bulba, throws the tornado in. That's going to connect and catch 3. EMP goes off, does decent damage. Roche down to about a quarter health. Chuan bringing up the rear. We can see the ulti pop by Ferrari, extending the night. One of these teams is going to have to commit somewhere. Might be tier 2 mid here for EG. IG will be forced to engage in a not optimum angle coming down these steps. If that's the case, and here we go. Alacrity on Morphling. Mantis popped as well. IG trying to get in decent position. Holding the tower as long as they can. EG falling back now. This is an utter chess match of a game between these two teams. Both trying to anticipate each other's maneuvers, trying to get themselves the smallest of small advantages. Bulba, I mean, even here, perfect. Forge Spirit there to check the woods to make sure no one from EG wanders into the wrong side or the wrong area and gets picked off. Zoe going to catch a track from the low ground. Chuan there as well. There's a Force Staff forward, but nothing comes of it. IG is going to move back towards Roche. He's regenerating some health just about to, I call it a third. They just kind of bang on him a little bit, drag him up to the secret shop. EG still hanging around mid. The Invoker Illusion, the closest thing to the Roche pit right now. Ferrari's in ahead. EG's actually a little slow to react here. There's the tornado. Going to catch again. Catch 2 is a track on YYF. Roche is getting low. And Faith blows the ulti. Here we go. BKB's up. Faith's going to drop. In the meantime, Zoe gets the Aegis. YYF is going to drop as well. Ravage was used. IG takes the Aegis, but they pay a price for it. They give up 2 heroes in order to get that Aegis, but to be honest, Rascal, I think that's worth it. They gave up 2 supports, and now they've got an Aegis on their carry.
It depends on how much they lose in these next 30 seconds. If they can manage to get 2 tier 2s, then I think it's a little bit even. But the next team fight is really where IG is going to shine because they did lose their supports. But at the end of the day, when you have the Luna with an Aegis again, that means that EG can't play aggressive anymore. They basically have to fall back.
Yeah, they're going to make their way up to the tier 2 top. Tower, 647 HP. And the respawn's taking place now. Veno's already back up, tied up in 5.
Is under attack.
IG, looks like they may even just concede this. You had to know that's where EG was heading. Now they're going to go ahead and move. They've got the glyph up if they want it. Fear leads the way. And yeah, they're just going to concede the tower.
Dire's top tower
Stayed group near the tier 3. Still gives them 1 tower advantage over EG. Let's take a look at the gold graph. Dipping back up towards the Radiant. So EG's making headway.
Well, if they live through 1 Aegis, they can live through another one. I think that's pretty much the story that we've gathered through watching this game. And as time goes on, I mean, Leshrac is going to become more and more of a threat. He's got double bracer, he's got treads, he's got a BKB on top of that. He can walk into the team fight and do a tremendous amount of damage. And as good of a team fight utility as Ravage is, it does fall off in terms of how effective it is against the supports, because that's the big thing. When your supports can't ever go into a team fight, that's when you hurt. That's why game number 2, it was so difficult for IG, because their support Sand King could never initiate a team fight. And EG doesn't really suffer from that as much because one of their supports, well, he just has a freaking BKB, so he doesn't really care that much about the Ravage. And the other one is still quite tanky, sitting at over 1,000 HP. So right now we're going to see the smoke up from IG, and they know that they can play aggressive right now because of that Aegis, but EG very intelligently sitting inside their base.
EG playing very cautiously. That's something they've done quite well. There's a difference between well-advised caution and ill-advised caution. Sometimes it can really shoot you in the foot to play too passive at the wrong time. EG has picked their moments, however, and has done a great job. Here comes the Rock, gonna bust Zoe right in the mouth. Track follows it up, lightning thrown from the high to the low ground. Zoe taking a lot of damage here, being prioritized. Worth mentioning, Zoe did complete the butterfly. Has been basically free farming for a large amount of the game. In fact, 308 CS right now on Zoe compared to the 264. Still very, very good on Fear, but not quite to that level yet. Looks like he's going to be following it up with the Lincolns. We'll see if that is indeed the choice, but either Lincolns or Scotty.
I'm kind of leaning towards Scotty for him in this case. He just needs a little bit more survivability. Scotty makes it so he can indefinitely chase somebody with replicate abuse and things like that. I don't think the Lincolns at this point would really do too much for him. They have ways to eat it anyway. They have telekinesis, they have the Night Stalker, of course, and Lucent Beams from Luna. And I mean, honestly, if he gets a Scotty, I mean, going up against a Butterfly Luna is going to be problematic. That hero has a ridiculous amount of armor. She has evasion on top of that, and a BKB, and an Aegis. Taking her down twice is going to be a tall order for EG in the next fight.
Lots of Blink Daggers up. Chuan picks his up. And that alone, Draskell, it's such a cheap item in the grand scheme of things. And as we roll past 40 minutes now, you think Blink Dagger, oh, okay, he got a Blink. Actually on Rubik, it's a pretty big deal. Telekinesis, used on the right hero who is just a little bit out of position, can win or lose a game. We saw that. We saw Bounty Hunter picked off by Telekinesis earlier on with that Blink on top out of Tide with the Anchor Smash to finish him off. That allowed them to take a completely uncontested Tier 2 tower. That gave IG unmitigated map dominance for quite some time after. It's the small things, the game of inches aspect that is Dota 2. And that Blink Dagger on Chuan could be it. Here we go. Bulba going to be picked up with Telekinesis, but he manages to force staff himself to safety. Very, very close call there for Bulba.
That was a sick reaction time right there from Bulba, managing to get inside the base just in the nick of time as YYF was blinking in. And IG is not done here. It looks like they want to continue to pressure this Tier 2. They've already forced Fear back, and this tower is going to be under a lot of trouble.
Chuan blinks forward, doesn't find a target. Here comes Demon, BKB up. Here comes Melk as well. Using his BKB, splitter us off the mark, but he continues to do damage, and the Aegis is gone. Zoe is down. Faith taking mass damage. Off goes the Ravage, but only could do so much. Fear, caught out, morphing strength, is gonna be able to waveform himself to safety. Bulba still hanging near the mid here. Oh, gets caught with a Void. Another good force staff, gets him to safety, but just barely. Picked off with a gush from the long range. Melk trying to retreat back to the well. Ferrari, tunnel visioning. That's it. He's down and buys back. Melee Rax, the target of choice right now for IG. EG held their ground as long as they could. But the confluence of all of the abilities, the gold lead, everything that IG has worked so hard to build, all came together right there. That Aegis went extremely quickly, but they committed so much to get it that when they moved out, IG still able to take the team fight as well as a Tier 3 tower and one set of racks.
They overcommitted just slightly, man. If they had backed up as soon as they killed Zoe the first time with their BKB still up, I think that would have went a lot differently. They waited until the BKBs wore off, then YYF blinked in, got a nice Ravage, managed to get a couple of kills. Fortunately, Fear didn't drop there, but just like the smallest of decisions to keep going after that team fight. I mean, the aggressive waveform Mimic still put the rest of his team in a bad spot, and I think that decisions like that is why you lose racks in this game.
Scotty now done on Fear. Racks are down, the timer's on. In a game like this, where you're talking more or less carry on carry, a lot of big abilities coming out, that in the end, a fully farmed Morphling against a fully farmed Luna, gonna be usually your biggest sources of damage. And in a case like this, you can't sit back anymore. With one set of racks down guarantees, there's just not gonna be the potential for the same amount of gold coming to your side, and EG knows it. 5 pushing now up to mid, they're up to the Tier 3. We're gonna see Chuan steal the waveform. Chuan gets tracked. There's Telekinesis on Fear. Fear pulled forward, trying to get out. EMP lands. Here comes YYF. Still 25 seconds on the Ravage. EG wants to force this now. Demon with the BKB. Fate making a run. He is going to be adaptive strike down. Fear waveforms out. YYF and Zoe consider giving chase. Think better. No, actually, they do want to give chase. Fear with a full mana pool is going to be able to morph strength. We've got the TP out. He's going to make it back home to safety. So EG, not the most work.
Universe.
Trying to make a run for it. Go, try. Nope. Heading for Roshan. Roshan wasn't there to deny himself on anyway. But EG trying to get some work done, knowing that with Ravage down, they had to try and get something accomplished. Now they're going to be way on the back foot, Draskell. Going to be a hard road back to the top, given IG's performance.
Well, Zoe didn't have an extra item because of the Aegis, but then he just decided to go ahead and buy, a full Satanic, so it's not really that big of a deal. The next team fight, he's going to have that lifesteal, and I mean, of course, it gives him extra HP on top of that with the added damage of the activatable ability in itself. So, I mean, right now, IG is looking at a very, very good spot. EG is not out of it just yet. if another Roche goes IG's way, that's going to be worst case scenario. They are down to racks, but it's not really a gigantic deal. They already have the core items up on their Morphling and stuff like that. So losing the farm hurts them, of course, but it's not nearly as bad as it would be if it happened earlier on in the game. So props to EG for holding out this long. Can they manage to take a team fight is going to be the question. But I think the reason they push there too, again, Ravage was down. They know that the next fight's probably going to be around Roche. Maybe they're not comfortable with that. Maybe they just wanted to try to force something. But unfortunately, it backfired for them.
You take a look at IG's inventories. They're so full, Draskel, like you said. Just buying a Satanic, kind of cuz. Heart of Tarrasque, now done on Ferrari as well. Pipe, not far away on YYF. Also going to have probably, I'm actually not sure what we'll see out of Rubik. But one way or the other, IG is just taking a big, big advantage at this point. It's, I mean, they're just continuing to build and to build and to build and to build. And it can only go on so long. Pipe actually is now complete on Tidehunter. Bulba picked up a Scythe of Ice. That's a step in the right direction. Now has an Ogre Club as well. Going to be looking to complete his BKB. But at 47 minutes again, you can't help but think it may be a bit too little, a bit too late.
It's definitely going to be an uphill struggle from EG from this point onward. I mean, Ferrari has a heart. He's got 2,800 HP. He can pretty much walk into whatever engagement he wants at this point and not really suffer too much from it. And he has YYF to back him up, who did actually finish his entire pipe before the next team fight. And I mean, now the fact that Zoe is so farmed, he can split push with the best of them, man. Glaive's late game kill creep waves extremely fast. They bounce between buildings too and heroes. So it actually becomes relatively difficult to engage into her later on in the game just because of her auto attack damage. I mean, it is absolutely insane.
EG looking to smoke, and there it is. And there's a good chance they're going to run into IG. We saw him draw on the map. Drew about like that. And look where IG happens to be. Hanging in that general area. IG moves up to the secret shop area. Are they going to turn left, turn right? They're going to stop at the Ancients. So able to melt those down without much. EG, we are going to have a fight. Schwan wanders out. He's spotted. Here comes Milk. BKB up. Force staff off. YYF lands a big Ravage, however. Catches most of them. But EG relatively undeterred. It's Zoe versus Ferrari. Demon's going to drop on the backside. Down goes Leshrac. Zoe charging out. And EG may have run out of time. That's a 4-for-0 trade. Favoring IG. And it's going to be a Roshan. Morphling managed to stay safe. But IG, who was on the back foot, EG had their moments of dominance. But more or less, ever since they were able to really push down mid, get down to the racks, and continue to put that pressure on, IG has been slowly building momentum, and it may be a bit too much for Evil Geniuses.
Zoe is just so incredibly farmed at the moment, and this is what we talked about at the beginning of the game. The way that Luna builds are like the hardest carry items you can get. Satanic, Butterfly, Manta, BKB, like those are some of the hardest agility carry items you can buy with gold. So at this point, Zoe, absolutely monstrous. Even with BKB's popped, you just get shredded by bounces from the Moonglaive. I mean, it's just so hard to deal with because you have to basically spread out. YYF had a really good Ravage, managed to hit 3 in the last team fight. There was 1 BKB popped, but it just, Fear can't do enough right-click damage to really threaten him at this point.
Milk setting up shop here at the tier 3. Doesn't really matter, just look at the chunks every Glaive does for the health of that tower. Tornado goes out. Zoe still banging. Lightning doesn't matter. Zoe pops the BKB. Off goes the Glyph as well. Pipe is popped. IG takes the tower. Not willing to overcommit. Falling back. A set of steps. Let's see if they want to rotate or they want to stay put. Looks like they just wanted to regroup. EG up in force as well. Universe, Demon, and Milk looking to hold the line.
Thanks.
Here we go. Schwan up front, throws the track. Off comes another tornado, it splits the wickets. EMP, it does catch Zoe. Mana pool so deep, it really doesn't matter at this point, however. Bulba picked up. Is he going to be brought forward? He is. Not going to be paying too much of a price, but yeah, they're just slow pushing. They don't have to do anything but this. Just targeting down the racks when they can, trying to bait EG out. And yeah, they're going to push for the win. Pushing in all the way to the Ancient Towers. Zoe's there, leading the charge. EG's got to defend at some point. They got to defend. Here they come. Finally forcing them out. IG basically tap dancing at this point, doing as much damage as they possibly can without overcommitting to any fight that might turn momentum against them. They're going to go ahead and rotate to top now after bringing down their second set of racks. They're going to look to push down the last. But yeah, this is what we talk about all the time, Draskell. If you're just going to let a set of racks go and not commit, then you're more or less conceding the game. That's 2 sets of racks that are now down. And even if IG loses here, it just doesn't matter. The Aegis is already on Zoe. Speaking of, here comes the Rock. Zoe in some trouble, down to half health. They may get this Aegis quickly. Force Staff gets her back to safety, however. Here we go, wait for man. Faith and Zoe in trouble. Big Ravage catches most of EG, however. That should just about be it. Bounty's down, IG still standing. Only 1 set of max remain. Rubik actually manages to get a couple of kills all the way down, chased all the way to the fountain. Melt picks up, slammed down. Let's see, steals the Edict, and there it is. GG's called.
Zoe, this game just a little bit too farm. There was not a whole lot they could do about it. IG got every single Roche. I mean, when you play against Dire side, of course, you always say, the Dire advantage and things like that. But at the end of the day, Zoe farmed phenomenally well. He got the start he wanted, and he basically just got to a late game point where even Universe almost died bottom to just Moonglaive bounces on the building. So IG takes it, man, 2-1. I got to give props to EG, though, for taking at least 1 game, but they're still in the tournament, which is a good thing.
Yeah. EG's day is done, but not their tournament run. They're going to the losers bracket, be playing from there. IG, who was so dominant in the preliminaries, continues their dominance here at the live event here in Seattle, advancing to the second round of the winners bracket. Again, I'm AC, that's Draskell. We're going to be bringing you the last best of 3 of the winners bracket coming up next. For now, let's throw it to the analyst desk.
Welcome back then to the analyst desk. Yeah, IG. Last game went their way. It didn't start off looking very good for them. What happened for you guys?
Well, I think for me, EG, they really started off. They came out firing once again with the CM Morphling dual lane mid, but IG, they clawed their way back in this time. I mean, they had a Luna tri-lane bottom, which basically was there designed to punish EG's dual lane, and it worked. I mean, they shut down Demon, had literally no farm, and didn't have much of an impact on the game. And I think IG just used that Roshan, which Draskell talked about a lot. That Roshan advantage really helped them out in the long run.
Yeah, I actually think EG may have exposed a little bit of a weakness here for IG. I feel like EG has kind of given a bit of a blueprint to the rest of the teams, and teams like LGD or potentially Navi or DK going forward can use this as kind of a game plan. If you shut down Ferrari in middle, if you deny them that mid-game power, they really put IG behind the ball, and it gave Joe a lot less room to farm. I mean, yeah, he ended up getting 33,000 in net worth, so it didn't actually end the game. But I think that has a lot more to do with IG's impressive play skill through the mid game. I mean, that was a phenomenally played game on both sides. EG Fear, was playing Morphling, correct? There was one moment where big fight down at the bottom where he decided, I'll just take the tier 1 tower on bottom lane. Yeah. Didn't come into the fight when 2 members of IG were tracked, and that could have been 2 potential kills. So what did you make of that decision? Because really, I mean, if Draskell was talking about it quite a lot, it just didn't seem the optimum decision.
Yeah,
Optimal,
it did hurt them a little bit. I think Fear, I mean, obviously it's one of those things, in the moment you don't know what the right decision is. Sometimes as a carry hero you think going for that shore tower, the shore farm, sometimes may be preferred to helping out your team. If you go join up your team, you don't get a kill. Maybe even your team gets a kill that goes to a support hero. If you're missing out on farm, it's maybe not the right decision to make.
Yeah, and the BKB was even on the courier coming to him. I feel like there was a little bit of a communication of like, well, just wait for my BKB, and the battle happened.
Well, EG looked very strong mid-game, but IG obviously looked the best at the end as they did win 2-1. And we will have a winner's interview with IG.
各位观众朋友们，大家好，我是精灵。经过了非常精彩的3场比赛之后呢，终于 IG 战队是以2-1战胜了对手 EG， 那也是再次恭喜一下IG 战队。那么在我身边的呢是来自于 IG 战队的这个周周你好。
大家好，我是来自 IG 战队的周。
那么我也是知道，在第3场比赛中，你肯定心里面也是非常的紧张，能给我们分享一下你在第3场比赛中的心情吗？
第3场比赛打得比较纠结吧，能在军事中，然后把那个军事化为优势，然后再化为胜势，这一点挺不容易的。
那么我也是在比赛过程中看到 IG 战队围绕 Roshan 这样一个点是展开了非常大规模的部署，有一战呢甚至在 Roshan 附近是拖延了10分钟之久，甚至不惜2名队友的代价拿下了不朽盾。能给我们来解释一下这样的用意吗？
因为如果有了肉扇盾的话，打团我们就不会怕对面了。就算我先手被秒，我们还有一战的能力。但是如果没有肉扇盾的话，我先手被秒，队友就完全没有输出了。所以我们很看重那个盾。
好了，那么相信很多观众也是非常的这个想要问啊，就是应该说 IG 战队是中国唯一一支非常偏爱使用乐旗的队伍，在小组赛中就选择过很多次。那能给我们解释一下乐旗这样一个英雄的定位以及用意吗？
我觉得这个英雄前中期可以作为gank，然后成型后还能作为一个强大的后期输出，拆塔也不弱，所以我们在训练赛的时候就使用过它，效果非常好，所以也是作为我们的战术之一吧。
好的。那么还有第2场比赛的时候，周的话虽然说是输了啊，但是周依旧是保持出了这个用德鲁伊出了电锤。那能给我们广大的观众解释一下电锤对于德鲁伊的用意吗？
因为德鲁伊出电锤的话成型快，我们打的并不是4保1德鲁伊的体系，我们打的是双核甚至3核，因为赏金也能作为一个后期输出。如果我电锤出得早的话，配合赏金打架是非常厉害的。不过那把我们前期劣势比较大，然后他们有2个大团控，我们冲不过去。
好的，那么也是感谢周神的采访，希望 IG 战队在之后的比赛中也能够一帆风顺。Back to James.
Thank you, Anderson. Yeah, a nice little interview there. I do wonder if they told Chon that he wasn't allowed to look at Anderson through the whole interview, or he just has a lazy eye like me. I don't know which one it was. But one of the big things that he did point out there that we also should have brought up was the Roshan, the first Roshan they got, IG's Roshan. They actually decided, yes, we're going to sacrifice 2 members to make sure we get the Sagas on the Luna. So that big play for you, or obvious?
Not obvious. I think it was one of those moments where Roshan was getting very, very low. I mean, you had the Tidehunter blinking in just to get the Ravage off it. I think Fear actually dodged it with his BKB, but it was just to ensure Luna got the Aegis. From there, they backed off. They knew they could stall the push. And then I think Venomancer even later on suicided just to make sure they stalled that push. And by then, they had the full team up. They were easily able to stall them back.
Yeah, just about every time they kind of slowly grinded down the Roshan, taking out about a quarter of his HP, pulled back, waited for EG to commit. EG didn't commit. They went forward again, got about a quarter HP more, waited for EG to commit. EG didn't commit. And ultimately, they just groaned down Roshan far enough to where EG was like, all right, we have to go. We have to do this. And that was really not a battle that EG really wanted to take. They really wanted IG to make a mistake, and IG's not going to make a mistake.
All right, and Bruno, you're grinning over there.
I called it.
Is that what you're so happy
to you,
about?
James.
You called it. You called Luna.
I called the Luna. No, but you know who the unsung hero of this match is, and now actually of the tournament.
Is it you, Bruno?
Yes, it is. No, it's Faith. He played
Yes.
Venomancer and got 15 assists. He's the hero with the most assists in the whole tournament per game.
Yeah.
So he's great.
All right, okay, so we do actually have a highlight from the match, one of the big team fights, and they were going later more in IG's way. It just seemed, as we kind of talked about, they are just edging every little advantage, and this is where they tried to push, walked into a, tried to smoke gank round, and it just completely backfired.
Yeah,
just look at the HP drop of the
five-man
whole
smoking.
team.
They tried to get in here. Unfortunately for them, the massive BKBs plus the pipes didn't really do the trick. And Zhou at this point is just throwing down massive damage. I mean, we see Bulba trying to get away. This is kind of the tail end of it here. But Zhou is just way too fat at this point, way too farmed.
Yeah, and his Satanic was done by that fight as well. And
Yeah.
it seemed like one of the last chances for EG to maybe make something happen. Was it? It obviously wasn't a good move in hindsight. Maybe Bruno should have told him not to go there.
No, actually, going to Bruno's point, the faith being the unsung hero, me and Gods were talking about this during the game, but there were wards all over the map. At one point, I think there was 4 wards for IG, 1 ward for EG, and that 1 ward got dewarded nonetheless. They still spotted it.
All right, then. So let's take a look at the upper bracket of where we are right now in the tournament. We're in day 1 of the playoffs, of course. Every game in the upper bracket is going to be best of 3. We've already had LG beating out Orange. Complexity, unfortunately, lost to Zenith. So those two will be playing tomorrow, LG versus Zenith, and then IG now just taking a 2-1 victory over EG. First game was very dominating, but last game, IG just kept on using their advantage, just taking step by step, inching their way into the win. And of course, next we'll be going on to DK versus Na'Vi. So returning champions here, Na'Vi versus DK. DK have had a very strong performance as well. How do you feel about this matchup?
Well, not only the returning champions, but the only European hope left in that winner bracket.
Yeah, I feel like Na'Vi are definitely the kind of European hope at this point, the non-Chinese Chinese team left.
Well, they're the European hope in the winners bracket, but let's show you what's coming up just in a little moment. Obviously, we've got the DK versus Na'Vi game, but we will, of course, be going into our lower bracket. The lower bracket, if you lose one best of one, you are out of the tournament. We've got 8 teams down there as well, so we've still got 4 more matches in terms of people to play, teams to play against each other, as opposed to our winner game, which will be coming up next, which is Na'Vi versus DK, and we can have a look at the lower bracket in just a moment. But of course, that is going to be CLG versus MTW, Mouse Sports versus eHome, Tongfu versus M5, and Dara versus AL. So looking forward to all those games.